It is end of August here on the farm. All of our summer crops are in total abundance, but we need to be thinking about fall. So let's give you a tour of what the farm's looking like. Up at the very top of the farm, we have our perennial flower planting, and we have been really happy with how it's gone so far this year. Up here, we had a ton of stuff that's kind of finished off already, things like our yarrow and our feverfew, but the greenery has really started to come into season. I have this mountain mint that is starting to be perfect to be picked as a filler, and it's super beautiful. I really like the look of it. And we have really been loving this anise hyssop that we have in here. It's not perennial in our zone, but look, these beautiful flowers. I'll gladly plant this every year. This perennial garden has ended up being a real all-season garden. Even though we already have some things that are finished, and in the summer we have all these things that we're still picking, there's still stuff saved here for fall. These sedums, my plan on these is I'm going to be using these after frost. The sedum keeps super good in the cold weather. So I'm really excited to get to play with this soon. This has been just our first year with this perennial garden, and basically our first year with perennial flowers. But so far we've been really happy with it, and we have big plans for doing more perennials in the years to come. But the real bread and butter and the main production area on our flower farm is always the annual flowers. Like this bed right behind me, this has been our main flower farm from the beginning. This is only 1,000 square feet, and we still pick the majority of our flowers out of this small space. We have almost 1,000 zinnias in here. We grow Bennery's Giant and Lime Queen, and we do a handful of colors. And these, they produce and produce and produce, but at this point they have started to slow down a bit. But they'll still take us through to the end of September, making me very happy because I love zinnias. And then our cosmos, we get so much in here. After a hot summer, a full 3 months of heat, my celosia is starting to look really good, and this is one of the plants that I really love because these colors, these stunning vibrant colors, this says super summer to me, so I'm happy it's looking so good this year. We have been running an experiment this year. Last year we had a lot of dinner plate dahlias, and I discovered that we cannot make money on those. They are not good for our market bouquets, but Ian loves dahlias, so I went for smaller, more decorative styles of dahlias this year, and yet again, I'm still not convinced that we're making money on them. This is a good example. We have so many grasshoppers here. The plants, they've just really gotten diseased, and they just haven't been loving this hot, dry summer we've been having. So I'm gonna have to see. We'll always have dahlias like this that are just for us to enjoy, but they might not make a lot of sense for us to bring down to the market. But enough about the flowers. Let's show you the vegetable farm. Here behind me is something that I haven't had to show off for quite a few months at this point. This is empty space. This is how I know that the season is starting to come to an end. We are going to be planting our very last plantings of fast greens, things that don't like the heat, that will be there for the fall. But this is the time of year when stuff starts to be coming out and there isn't anything to replace it. We start to have open, empty space as we go into the end of the farm season, which feels crazy to say right now. Last week, we got our big fall planting done here behind me. In the height of summer, I think that this was around July 1st, maybe even earlier, we started a ton of kale, a ton of Swiss chard, stuff that was going to be getting started inside in the cool, in the air conditioning, so that it could get planted out and be ready for us to pick when the weather cools down and these greens start to thrive again. So this is what makes fall coming seem real for me. Seeing these baby Swiss chard, baby kale in the ground, and knowing that come October, I'm still gonna have lots of food and lots of stuff to bring down to the farmer's market. This year was not a great year weather-wise, especially for things like kale that really don't thrive in the heat. We, in the spring, plant a summer kale crop, and I'm really picky about what I plant. I plant something that's the best suited to the heat that I can find. This is Darkabor, but you can see here, this is some sad, dead kale. This was not a good summer for greens. And behind me, even though the Swiss chard is looking very lush and very happy, it's actually full of bugs, and it's very, very close to bolting. So these are my summer greens, and they are done. I'm not selling these anymore. I need to just wait for those little babies to grow so that I can have those greens to sell again. Even though the greens didn't make it this summer, we still have lots of roots. Behind me is carrots. These are some of the carrots that were planted in the spring. This is some of the carrots that were planted in the summer. We have had lots and lots of these. We've always had a mountain to bring down every week, even though they don't necessarily love the heat that we've gotten. They have not struggled at all, so there still has been lots coming out of this farm this year. And beets, we still have lots of beets. We probably have enough beets already in the farm that we don't need to plant any more for fall. We have more than enough to carry us through into that season. And look at how big some of them are this year. We figured out the trick. Have a bed with very bad germination, and then you get monster beets. The greenhouses are thriving. They have lots and lots of fruit on them. They've started to slow down a little bit. We've actually started to have some cooler nights, which is a big relief with all the heat we've been having this year. With those cooler nights though, the tomatoes, they don't produce quite as much as they used to. So we still have more than enough in here. Here in Kelowna, we have really good tomatoes in September. September has, some of our best tomato production. So I still have lots and lots I'll be able to pick out of here over the next 6 weeks until our frost. We've also had such amazing growing for peppers this year that even though we grow our peppers to be green peppers, they produce so much and there's only so much we can sell every week that at this point we now are loaded with sweet red peppers, which is incredible. I love red peppers, so I'm excited. I'm definitely going to be storing a bunch of these in my freezer to enjoy come winter. Here is the rest of our fall planting. This is where the kale is gone, and then our fall lettuce. You know, there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot here. Even though, you know, summer always seems like the height of everything, and it seems like the time when there's the most. It's different crops, right? Like, we're going to have all this come cool weather. We just might not have all the tomatoes. We'll have this instead. In our other greenhouse, we have all of our cucumbers, which are, you know, they're slowly starting to die off a little bit. And then we also have our large tomatoes, which are really starting to go. This is when they start to ripen into this time of year. Lots are coming out of these greenhouses. We are so happy. This greenhouse and the cherry tomato greenhouse are two new greenhouses for us this year, and it's been incredible how much production we've gotten out of that extra space. It's always fun to expand the farm, and it's even more fun to see what you can get out of expanding the farm. And the other exciting expansion that we did this year is this whole area down at the very bottom of our farm, which we have been using to plant so many flowers. This ended up being a huge flowery area just because I had the space and I just wanted to, right? Like, we wanted to see what we could do with flowers this year, which, you know, spoiler, if you haven't been watching what's been going on, they've done amazing. So we've been very happy to have all this. At this point, you know, some of the stuff like this sunflower patch here has started to finish up. There's still a few things to pick out of it. We also have a big planting of patty pans down here and other little mini zucchinis to pick. And this has been fun. It's been fun to be able to have mountains of this stuff. It looks so beautiful down on the farm stand. And we haven't always had the space to be able to plant this much. All this extra space has just mean we've had more options for being able to plant things that we haven't been able to in the past. My original amaranth hedge planting failed. It didn't do anything. So I desperately planted another amaranth hedge down here, and I am so glad I did because these are looking so beautiful. I love amaranth. I want it all year round, but I especially need to have it for my bouquets come the kind of end of summer. A lot of my plantings, like the zinnias, they start to slow down a little bit. So having all these amaranths, you know, to kind of change the look. And I mean, come on, guys. Like, how can you not be obsessed with amaranth? It's so cool. Behind me is our very first planting of sunflowers. This hedge is pretty much finished at this point. Just a few things left to pick out of it. But this represents us going really hard on learning all about how to grow pro-cut sunflowers, and especially us, you know, getting obsessed with sunflower selections and just overbuying. We made a whole video about how excited we were about buying from them, which I'll tab up at the top. With the pro-cut sunflowers, they have very specific days that they take. So you need to be planting them every week or every 2 weeks to be able to get continuous cuttings. So this was our first planting. This was our second planting, and you can see there's still one variety left to open in here. So most of this has been picked, just a little bit left. This is our third planting, which is currently in full bloom. This is where we're mostly picking from at this point, and you have to see the other colors. Look at these ones. Aren't they just like the classic sunflower? And this one here, I don't even know what this is. I think this might be Joker, which is like a specialty one, but it's kind of a double in the multicolor. I really like it. But I also have my fourth planting coming. It's gonna be ready for me probably next week, as well as my fifth planting and my sixth planting. And I'm considering trying a seventh planting, putting some seeds in the ground, because if we have really good weather, there's a chance that maybe I'll be able to have sunflowers super late in the year. So I've been really happy with how the sunflower experiment has gone so far. We have had consistent sunflowers and some of the most beautiful sunflowers ever. They don't look real. They look so good. I have all these plans for flowers about how to get, as close or even past frost as possible, but don't you guys worry, the flowers don't end. I have been drying flowers like crazy since the spring. Up here behind me, this is just like a normal amount we've been hanging up every week in this summer season. And I have so much of it. They look really good. They look better than the zinnias. Here's them. Oh shit, this is... The employee was working super hard today. She went and sorted through all of my dried flowers, and look how many there are. This is not an exaggeration. And there's more in this corner. I don't know if you can see it. These are full boxes. These aren't like, oh, there's just a little bit in there. These are packed. I don't even know. I don't even know what I'm gonna do with all this stuff. And I haven't even gotten into the point that I'm drying grasses or really doing a big amount of amaranth. There's a lot of dried flowers. So I'm excited for all the things I can do with these over the, no fresh flower season. I have plans for doing wreaths. I got my wreaths. I wanna learn how to do stuff like that. Other exciting and fun ways that we can put dried flowers together that people will want to buy. So there's still gonna be lots of flower playing and experimentation all year, which is gonna be incredible. Homegrown, every single piece grown on the farm, flowers year round. I'm a summer person. Summer is my absolute favorite. I love the heat. It makes me so happy, as well as the abundance of the garden. Ian and I were tomato-based life forms, so summer's gotta be our season. That's when we rejuvenate our DNA with all that tomato matter. With it being end of August, I have to face the reality that summer is going to be coming to an end. We usually have really beautiful, nice, warm Septembers, not really fall yet. But it's coming, it's going to be here, and before I'm ready, having all of these fall plans in place, having all my fall crops planted into the farm, even having those dried flowers to know that I'll have flowers to play with, into the cold, sad, dreary weather, makes it so much easier for me to, sit back and think positive things about the end coming, think about maybe I'll be able to, have some easy time. That'll be nice. So if you are like me and you have been loving the abundance of summer on our farm, don't worry, there's still so much more to come. There's so many more plants growing and more flowers to enjoy.
A whole video without any Ian? Boring.